Episode number 320 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Orbitz, and today we're going to be talking about a hot topic, but it's not so hot. We are talking about cold plunges, and you may have heard about the benefits. It seems to be, again, a hot topic, something that you see many people talking about. You see lots of influencers getting to cold plunges. You see them popping up in all kinds of spas. So I wanted to talk about the benefits, and not just the benefits, but if they are good for fertility. I often get the question asked by my patients and my fertility clients. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. Let's talk about the science behind cold plunges, really what they do to the body and what they really are. So cold plunges is really going into very, very cold water, like ice water, for a short amount of time. So it could be 30 seconds, it could be up to a few minutes, which honestly, I could never do a few minutes of it. But it's really just immersing the body in very cold water and then coming out. Obviously, you don't want to stay too long because that's not healthy either. And what that does is it actually activates your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. And when that happens, it actually stimulates the body, and a surge of beta endorphins and noradrenaline occur. And that can impact your energy, it can impact your mood. It also activates brown fat tissue and increasing metabolism. So many different health benefits can occur, and that includes increasing metabolic rates. So it can force the body to work harder to maintain its core temperature. And then what it also does is it forces the blood to go inwards so that the heat is protected and the blood goes towards your organs. It's also shown to help with insulin sensitivity. So it can improve your response to insulin. And since it helps with metabolism, it can also help with weight management. I personally have done cold plunges in the past, and I will say that it has a very relaxing impact on my body. Not relaxing when you're doing it, absolutely not. It's very, very stressful actually, and you can feel stressed when you're doing it. And it also causes you to breathe really fast, and it causes, you could definitely feel the stress. So when you're going through that, you're obviously going through some stress because your body's not used to taking that temperature. But then after you get out, you start to feel the endorphins and you start to feel really relaxed. When I have done it, I've done it in a spa setting where you can do the cold plunges and then you can go into a warm environment and then go back and forth a couple of times. So what that could do is it actually, from a Chinese medicine perspective, what I see it as is that you are forcing yin and yang mechanism in your body. By doing that, it actually wakes up that yin and yang response in the body, and it forces you to go from really cold to really hot to really cold to really hot. And what that can do is when you're forcing that dial, that your body is going to start to regulate itself. It almost instigates or prompts the body to regulate itself and create balance. There have been a lot of studies that have been published, and it has been found to show lots of health benefits, including health and mood, cardiovascular health. So it definitely seems to be beneficial overall for the health. Now, when it comes to male fertility, the idea is that temperature is really important, and it plays a very, very important role when it comes to the testicles. And sperm production requires a temperature of about 3.6 to 7.2 degrees Fahrenheit lower than the core body temperature. And this is why the testicles are located outside of the body. So you may have often heard that for male fertility, it's important that they don't heat up the testicle area. So many times people will say not to go into spas or saunas or steam rooms and to avoid hot tubs. And that is the reason why, is because having that high temperature is going to cause issues with the sperm production, but it also is the reason why a varicocele impacts sperm health, is because a varicocele is basically a varicose vein, a vein that's expanded in the testicular region, and where there's blood, there's heat. So because it's expanded, there's more blood volume, and that blood volume creates more heat around that area, which impacts sperm production. So the thought is that cold plunges can also maintain the optimal temperature for sperm production by lowering the temperature of the body. However, what's been shown in some cases is that cold stimulation actually decreases testosterone levels by sometimes up to 10%. So that is something to definitely consider. So the question is, should you, as a male, start to do cold plunges, or should you just avoid heat? And that is definitely something to consider. So when it comes to female fertility, we know that other benefits are reduced inflammation for cold plunges, stress reduction, improved circulation, metabolic health. So these are all things that can definitely benefit female fertility. Now, my thing is that I would not suggest to do this all the time if you were to do it. I think that doing it once in a while, maybe once a month, and then also including some heat exposure for women back and forth just once in a while to reset the system of the body probably won't hurt. And if anything, it might activate the body and create a more calm response in the body. And as I always say, it's really important to listen to your body. Ultimately, when you feel good, it is your body speaking to you and communicating that whatever you're doing makes it feel good. So it is important to follow that. However, if you feel more fatigued, more drained, then your body's telling you maybe don't do it too much. I personally think because it is an extreme type of stimulation, it might be best to do this more of a once in a while thing. So no more than once a month. And it might be beneficial to do it once a month because you are stimulating the yin and yang response for a female body, and you're also possibly lowering inflammation for both male and female. However, doing it more could also impact having too much cold in the system. And I often talk about this in general, that with female fertility specifically, it's important to keep a warm womb and to also not put your feet on cold tile. I always talk about drawing up cold. Now that is also a chronic thing. So doing this all the time is a different story than to do it really quickly and then you're right out and then your body has enough time to regulate so that you're not really doing this chronically and you're not creating like a cold pattern from this quick exposure. So there's a difference between doing something habitually and chronically versus doing something for a quick exposure. It also might help for specific conditions. So my thought would be, based on the fact that it lowers inflammation, and of course, again, there's not a lot of studies on this, so this is just really my perspective on it. The fact that it lowers inflammation and the fact that it can increase metabolism and increase insulin sensitivity, I would say it may benefit anybody who's a little more overweight or has PCOS with insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance. So I would say, why not try it out, try it once, and then don't do it like too many times, too much repetition. I would definitely try it like about once a month just to get things stimulated. I would also say that I would avoid doing this during the menstrual cycle. I would do this only in the follicular phase after the bleed, before ovulation. That would be the only time that I would suggest doing this for women. I would also listen to your body and not overdo it, not stay too long inside the cold plunge, especially if it's your first time and you're not used to it. So test it out. But again, this isn't something that I suggest doing on a regular basis. And similarly, I would say the same thing with hot yoga. Hot yoga is great once in a while in moderation, especially if you tend to be something called yin deficiency. You find that your fluids are low, you tend to be more dry, your skin is dry, and you're thirsty a lot. I would definitely suggest not to do hot yoga all the time. And I would say I would only suggest it once in a while if you have a strong constitution that is able to withstand the heat and not get fully depleted. For those individuals, I would definitely say once in a while to do hot yoga if it really relaxes you. That's okay. My concern is not to get too depleted by extreme heat or extreme cold. And so it's important to really consider that when you're trying to conceive. You don't want to overdo anything and cause too much stress on the body. A little stress is okay. That's actually normal, and it actually helps your body to get stronger, but you just don't want to overdo it. So really, a lot of this is intuitive. A lot of it is common sense. A lot of it is really paying attention to your body and your body sensations and what your body's telling you. So that is my 2 cents on the cold plunges. I know this is a little shorter of an episode compared to what I usually do, but I felt like it was an important thing to address because it does seem to be a topic that comes up a lot as of late. So those are my thoughts on it. I definitely think it can stimulate that yin and yang balance by forcing the body. Sometimes that's okay, but you just don't want to do this all the time. So I hope that helped you answer your questions if that was on your mind. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. And I hope you have a beautiful day. So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.